Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports for Sunday, March 29th. Not a good day on the show yesterday. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to finish the intro with...
These losses stay with me. They fester, Jerry.
Yeah, we got the easy win with the Chicago Cubs yesterday. No sweat on that one. Purdue was looking like they were going to be a winner as they had the 7-point lead at halftime. The game was kind of played at a slow pace as well, which is what you want if you're on Purdue. It was Arizona's largest halftime deficit of the season. And then what happens? Oh, yeah, we get like a 20-point swing, maybe even worse than that in the second half. Like, the only way you're going to lose that cover at that point is if something like that happens, and the second half is the most massive disaster that you've ever seen. That is exactly what happened. And, of course, Arizona went to the free throw line way more than Purdue did, which was pretty much the tail of the game there. I'm fucking pissed. I still think Purdue was the right side in that game based on all the handicapping. There is also an angle. I guess it's an angle, not a trend. An angle, because they think a trend has to do with a specific team or guy. There's an angle that works in the Sweet 16, and I believe also the Elite 8 round, where if a team has won 6+ games in a row, so finished the regular season hot, continued that momentum through the tournament so far, and they're an underdog in this round. They cover like 65% of the time or something like that. So that angle has been working. It applied to St. John's the other day as well, although it applied to, I think, Arkansas as well against Arizona. So, yeah, that angle just doesn't work against Arizona. Arkansas was a horrible matchup. Which I did not think was the case with Purdue. Whatever. I'm not going to keep talking about it. I don't like the board today at all. We're going to get into it. We're going to have one baseball play, let me zoom in here. We're going to have one hockey play as well, and that's what I got today. I don't like what I'm seeing here. Baseball starts in the afternoon, of course. It's Sunday, so it's mostly afternoon baseball. MLB Network has Kansas City and Atlanta. Kansas City trying to avoid getting swept here. Now, a lot of times I'll look and see, well, the team that's going for the sweep, who do they play next? Because a lot of times when a team has already won every game in the series, they'll overlook that team in the last game and be looking ahead. But Atlanta's only looking ahead I don't think they're going to be looking ahead because they play the A's next, which is not a big deal. And this applies to like 4 or 5 teams today. I looked and I'm like, it's not a look ahead for any of these teams really. None of them are playing good teams in the next game. Now, we got to look at the bullpen usage as we usually do. This is going to take for fucking ever to go through all these games here. Kansas City has the better bullpen. They're fairly well rested, really. They only used 3 guys yesterday. Atlanta used 4. Now, Atlanta is also coming off a dramatic win where I think they scored 6 runs in the 9th inning and won on a walk-off grand slam. So sometimes when that happens, the team will be in a little bit of a letdown spot. So those are all things kind of indicating that maybe you want to look towards the Royals in this game. I look at the starting pitching matchup, though, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Seth Lugo's pitching for the Royals. I can tell you that a lot of professional handicappers do not like this guy. They don't like his underlying metrics. I've been watching it, and I think that he's not as bad as that. Like, I don't know, consistently has decent strikeout walk numbers, whatever. His numbers are not great against Atlanta. 98 at bats, or 22-13 strikeout walk ratio is pretty bad. He's allowed a 276 average to them, 809 OPS. That's not good at all. So I wouldn't really trust Lugo in this game, so that kind of eliminates any thought of, I want to play Kansas City here. I do not. Grant Holmes is pitching for the Braves. He's probably not as good as he looks really good with this ridiculous mullet or whatever that he has going on in the Fu Manchu. His ERA was pretty good last year. His whip, not so much. He puts too many guys on base. Kansas City has not seen much of him, though. They're actually 0 for 9 off him lifetime with 2 strikeouts and a walk. So he probably does have the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup because these pitchers that are unfamiliar to the opposing hitters tend to have a little bit of an edge that way. Braves, 69% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. They're up to minus 151 on the money line. I can't really disagree with it, really. I think you got an edge starting pitching matchup-wise offensively, and then the only edge that Kansas City really has is in the bullpens, and that didn't work out last night either. I think I would slightly lean towards the Braves in that game, but I don't really have that strong of an opinion on it. All right. Mr. Penzi, Michigan. I'm going to talk about that game. I lean towards Michigan covering in that game. Minnesota at Baltimore. These teams, I think, have split the first couple games in this series here. Bullpen-wise, not good bullpens, at least we're basing this off of what we saw last year, though, for now, until, we need, a few weeks worth of data, really, to really see who these bullpens really are. But since the personnel is similar to last year, I'm going with last year for now. Both bullpens are bad. A lot of bullpen usage yesterday, kind of for both teams as well. So I would be looking to avoid the bullpens in whatever handicap I'm doing here in this game. A lot of games went to extra innings yesterday too, by the way. So there was a decent amount of bullpen usage in a lot of these games yesterday. Starting pitching, I don't know if these are trustworthy starters here either. Bailey Ober is pitching for the Twins. I mean, he shows glimpses of being pretty good. He's a dominant mound presence at 6'9", 69, but he was not pitching very well last year. He gets knocked around in a lot of starts. He had a pretty bad whip last year. I'm not sold on Ober, even though I've seen good stuff from him at some points. His numbers against the Orioles are actually good, though. In 53 at-bats, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio, 170 average allowed is quite low. 562 OPS, so the Orioles are one team that actually does not really hit for power against him, so maybe he does have a decent matchup to work with here, although I would say the Orioles are definitely the better offense out of these two teams, probably the slightly better bullpen, similar bullpen usage yesterday, and I think the Orioles do have the better starter here with Shane Baz. His whip wasn't very good last year either. I think he does have some decent stuff, but also remember with Baz, last year, he was pitching in Tampa Bay. They were playing in a AAA stadium last year. He was on Tampa Bay last year. So that affected his numbers because that was a very hitter-friendly ballpark. So maybe you have to give him a little bit of a break for what his numbers looked like last year. Against Minnesota, they have not really seen him much at all. They're 0 for 10 off him with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. So very limited sample size. They're not familiar with him. He's done pretty well against them generally. So I think you have to tip the scales towards Baltimore here. Then the question becomes price. They're minus 152 on the money line, 75% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on them. I don't want to touch the game, man. I really don't. The total's pretty high at 9. So even though it looks like money is actually coming in on the under, odds makers kind of telling you that they're not really trusting these pitching staffs in general here. I would lean, I guess, towards Baltimore in this one if I was going to do anything with it. But I don't really want to touch that game either. I don't want to touch most of these games. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. We have Texas and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I believe, is on the verge of potentially sweep. Oh, no, wait, they're not. They lost yesterday. My mistake. I thought Philly won yesterday. They didn't. They lost in a close game. Texas does have the better bullpen out of the two teams here. Looking at the usage, though, Texas used a lot of relief pitchers yesterday, man. They used, 7 relief pitchers yesterday? They used almost their entire bullpen yesterday, so that's not good. That kind of takes away the advantage they might have. Philadelphia used 4. This must have been an extra inning game, I assume. Yes, it was. It was only 10 innings, though, but that's a lot of bullpen usage. Texas, normally, I would say they have the better bullpen, but with that usage, not so much maybe. Philadelphia does have the better offense here. Starting pitching-wise, I don't like either of these starters, really. Mackenzie Gore will be making his debut for the Rangers, and something I should have mentioned with Boz, I guess, is that when a pitcher is making his debut for a new team that, signed him to a big contract or whatever over the offseason, that pitcher does have kind of an incentive to pitch really well in that first game. So a lot of times you will see them pitch well in the first game. But I don't know, man. Gore did not have a good season last year, even though he does actually have good stuff. But 1.35 whip last year, pretty bad. Up against the Phillies, he was in their division, so they're pretty familiar with him because he was on Washington, but he actually does have pretty good numbers against them in a big sample size, 165 at-bats, 56-15 strikeout walk ratio, 242 average allowed, 681 OPS allowed. And I should clarify, when I'm saying, what is the threshold that I consider, good, right? I think the OPS is what matters the most, and I would say 750 is probably where I would say if it's lower than that, it's not that bad. If it's lower than 700, I would say it's good for that pitcher. And if it's over 750, then I would say it's bad. That's kind of how I look at it. So, yeah, I would say Gore actually does do pretty well against Philadelphia. Jesus Luzardo pitching for the Phillies. He had an okay season last year, but it was really all over the place. He's very inconsistent. He has streaks where he does really well, and then he has certain starts where he gets absolutely lit up. He has 58 career at-bats against the Rangers. Nimmo is very familiar with him because he was on the Mets. So Nimmo actually has good numbers against him, too. Overall, 15-6 strikeout walk ratio for the entirety of Texas's lineup against him, which is not great for Luzardo. 259 average allowed, 725 OPS. Mediocre numbers there. So this is a game where it looks like a lot of mediocrity. 89% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Phillies. They're at minus 156. I don't think I'd be looking towards the Phillies here, to be honest, man. I think I might lean slightly towards Texas, but I would have to limit it to the first 5 innings if I wanted to do anything like that, because I don't want to touch Texas's bullpen with that much usage, even though generally I would leave their bullpen in because I think they are the better bullpen, but probably not in this case. Money's sort of coming in towards an over, sitting in no man's land at 8. I wouldn't really disagree with an over in this game either. I don't know. It's a very hard game to handicap for me. A's and Toronto. Toronto is on the verge of a sweep here after they won yesterday 8-7. That was another one of those extra inning games, so I think we had a lot of bullpen usage yesterday in that game. Toronto only has Colorado next, so we're not in danger of a look-ahead spot for Toronto here. Toronto used a lot of their relief pitchers yesterday, man. They used 7 relief pitchers, so used everybody but Hoffman pretty much, so that's not great. For the A's have the worst of the 2 bullpens. They used 6 relief pitchers as well, it looks like yesterday, so a lot of bullpen usage. So I'd be looking to not want to take either bullpen today in whatever I do with this. The starting pitching matchup is actually interesting. Luis Morales is pitching for the A's. He actually had a pretty good season last year. He's still a young guy. He looks like he's actually a pretty decent pitcher, and Toronto's never faced him before, so that should be an edge to Morales because he's never been seen before. He's going up against Eric Lauer, who we know he had a good season last year for Toronto. The A's basically haven't seen him before either. They're only 1 for 4 off him with a strikeout. And no extra base hits, no walks. So we have 2 decent pitchers that are unfamiliar to the opposing hitters here. As far as the side is concerned, 68% of tickets, 80% of the cash on Toronto. They're down to minus 149 on the money line. I would say I don't really want to do anything with the side here, man, but I would say that I think under in the first 5 innings is the way that I would play this game. I don't want to do anything with the bullpens here, but I actually like the starting pitching here. I think, again, we have 2 young pitchers that look like, one young pitcher, one 30-year-old pitcher. Guys that looked good last year. They have pretty good numbers, and their numbers against the opposing lineups are actually good-ish, and or they just haven't been seen by those opposing lineups before. So I like that, actually. I think both starting pitchers do have a little bit of an edge here, even though these are both powerful offenses, though. So that is something to keep in mind. But under first 5 innings, I think, is the way I would look at that game. And you could probably get a decent number because the total's like 8.5 or 9 in the full game. You could probably get under like 4, maybe even 4.5 in the first 5. That's what I would do in that game. Red Sox at the Reds. These teams have split. The umpiring was horrible yesterday. C.B. Buckner, home plate umpire. I made a joke about it on Twitter. Like, anybody who's named Buckner should just stay the fuck away because it's not going to go well for the Red Sox. Bill Buckner, by the way, R.I.P., did have a sense of humor about that. Appeared on Curb Your Enthusiasm, by the way, in one of the later seasons of that show. But whatever, it was horrible home plate umpiring. The Red Sox came back and tied the game, only to fall short again yesterday anyway. Lose in extra innings. Both bullpens saw some usage here yesterday. Cincinnati used most of their bullpen. They used like 6 relief pitchers yesterday. The Red Sox pretty much also did. So these bullpens are kind of wiped out right now. So I wouldn't want to deal with the bullpens in this game either. Now, that might wind up being worse for Cincinnati if we look at the starting pitching matchup here. I would say, as I've been saying throughout this series, I think the Red Sox probably have the slightly better offense here, the slightly better bullpen, but both bullpens used up here. I would probably have to give the Red Sox the starting pitching edge with Connolly early making the start here. I was expecting it to be Suarez, but I don't know what the Red Sox are doing with their rotation, but they're going with early. Young guy, we still don't know what we're going to get out of him really, but he did look good in his few appearances that he made last year. Red Sox may have something with this guy. He doesn't throw like crazy hard or anything like that, but he has a good pitch mix. His moving stuff can fool guys. He is pretty good. The Reds have never seen him before, so that should be an extra edge for him facing a lineup that's never faced him before. Because again, especially when you have these talented young pitchers, never been seen before by the opposing hitters, that is an advantage to them usually. Rhett Lauder's pitching for Cincinnati. Another mulleted gentleman here with a mustache. He had decent numbers last year, although his ERA looked really good, but his whip was somewhat high. I think he was mostly making short appearances, so I don't know that we're going to get a full start out of him here, which is kind of a concern when you have so much bullpen usage. Like, I think Connolly early will make like a full start here today, but Lauder, I don't know, because if you look at his usage, he actually didn't even pitch last year. That was 2 years ago. Well, I guess I'm wrong. I guess he was going like 5 innings per start for the most part in his only major league outings 2 years ago. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they will use Lauder for at least 5 innings in this game. The Red Sox probably have never seen him before as well. Actually, a couple of guys did face him a couple of years ago. Kiner Falefa and Monasterio are combined 2 for 4 off him with a strikeout. No extra base hits, no walks. Not a ton to see there. I mean, he's unfamiliar to the Red Sox as well. If you wanted to go under first 5 innings in this game, too, that might be my preferred approach in this one. The total has dropped a little bit already. Looks like public over here, but, it is. We do have 2 decent offenses here. It's a decent hitting park. But, of course, full game over is a completely different story because you're fading these, like, wiped-out bullpens here. Whereas I think the starting pitching actually might have a little bit of an advantage. So I think first 5 innings under makes sense in this game too. 81% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Red Sox. That number is not accurate, of course, but Red Sox are a small favorite again on the road here. they better not lose the series, man. Being a favorite on the road in every single game, that would be a bad start to the season, although the Reds are not a terrible team. Red Sox are at minus 132 there on the money line. But, yeah, I don't like the game, really. It's on MLB Unlimited and ESPN, it looks like there, or whatever the hell that is. Maybe it's MLB TV and ESPN Unlimited. I don't know. They don't separate these logos well enough. Colorado and Miami. Miami, I believe, is on the verge of a sweep here, so maybe they won't take Colorado as seriously. They only have the White Sox next, though, so a pretty good start for Miami. Easy schedule to start the season for Miami. Both bullpens, I don't think are that good. Colorado's is pretty awful. Not a lot of usage, though, yesterday for the bullpens. Pretty light usage for both bullpens yesterday. So, you know, the bullpens are intact. They're just not really that good. Quintana is pitching for the Rockies. The Rockies picked him up, I believe, over the offseason. I'm sure he's not happy about that because he goes from the Brewers, a playoff team, to a team that's a dumpster fire in the Rockies, and he has to pitch at Coors Field. None of that is good, but at least in this game, like I said with Lorenzen yesterday, at least he gets to pitch in Miami for this one. Quintana actually had an interesting year last year. He actually pitched better than anybody would expect last year. I mean, he's one of these older pitchers, but he's not a guy that ever really relied on velocity, so a lot of times these guys age better because they just focus on their command, and their command stays there, you know what I mean? Against Miami, his numbers are not great, but it's only a 21 at-bat sample size. It's not a huge sample size, believe it or not. 3-2 strikeout walk ratio, 333 average, 1,201 OPS. None of that is good. 3 of their hitters have home runs off of him. You would expect a guy who's been around for forever that he would have way more at-bats in his career against the opposing lineup. That's weird that that's not the case, but I don't know if I would really trust him in this game. Max Meyer is pitching for Miami. He's still a pretty young dude. He did not have a great season last year. I think it was a shortened season, but he does have talent. Like, I actually like Meyer. I actually think he's not that bad of a pitcher. Against the Rockies, though, it's been rocky. 14 at-bats. They have a 429 average off him. Goodman is 3 for 3 with 2 home runs off him, so he's going to have to pitch around that guy. They have a 1,324 OPS against him, but only 3 of their hitters have ever faced him before, so how do you gauge this, right? Like, do we actually say, well, Colorado wrecks him because these 3 guys have hit him fairly well, specifically really one guy, or are we going to say, no, Meyer's actually a pretty good pitcher. He's got good stuff, and most of the Colorado lineup has never even seen him before. I tend to lean towards the latter in this case. I think Meyer has the upper hand over Quintana here. Miami's just the better team as well. Probably the better offense and the better bullpen as well. They're at minus 181, 78% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Miami here. I don't want to touch the game at all, but, you know, I guess I probably would slightly lean towards Miami in that one. Pittsburgh at the Mets. The Mets are on the verge of potentially sweeping Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh, you know, everybody hyped them up this year because they got some, they picked up some guys over the offseason to try to help their lineup. And plus they have Paul Skeens, of course, still, but hasn't been a good start for them, man. I don't know that the Mets are going to be looking ahead to the Cardinals, so the Cardinals are bad. So, you know, not really much as far as a look ahead there. There probably isn't any. For Pittsburgh, though, they are going to go with Carmen Mlodzinski. He's pretty much an opener for them. Like, he's probably going to come in and only go 2-3 innings maybe in this game, depending on, like, how well he's doing and what the matchups are. So the Pirates are looking like they're sort of going with a bullpen game here. This is 2026, man. This is the new baseball. Blame Joe Madden for this. His numbers against the Mets are pretty good for what it's worth. It's 16 at-bats, 188 average allowed. 662 OPS is a little bit high. He has walked 4 of them and only struck out 3. You know, I'm not totally sold on him, but also I don't think he's going to be in the game that long. The Mets have Nolan McLean pitching, and he was one of their young call-ups last year. He was good for them last year, man. He's their, like, probably their next thing. Like, I actually think he's a good pitcher. Pittsburgh, only Ozuna has ever seen him before, and he's 0 for 3 with a strikeout. So, again, you have this young pitcher who's actually a talented pitcher. Never been seen before by the opposing bats. The opposing bats are not particularly good either. Ozuna, one of those guys that Pittsburgh picked up, and he is familiar with McLean, but he hasn't hit him well. So I think McLean does have the edge here. Mets minus 174 on the money line, 88% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. They're a very public side, which does worry me a little bit because I really think the Mets are the right side here, man. You have like a young, talented, unknown starter going up against basically a bullpen game from the lesser team. Yeah, I'd be leaning towards the Mets here, man. I don't know what else to say about it. And again, when you have these big prices here, I tend to look for a split bet where you put some of it on the money line and some of it on the run line to get the price down. Or you can go to a lot of the different sports books, have a -1 run line available, and that can get your price down as well. As far as the bullpen usage, Pittsburgh used a lot of it yesterday. They used, 4 relief pitchers, but over the last few days, they've used a lot of their bullpen, but they used a lot of it on Thursday and didn't play on Friday, I think. So, that'll cut down on the usage a little bit. It's not as bad as all this orange makes it look, really. But I think the Mets have the better bullpen. The Mets did use a lot of it yesterday, though. The Mets used like 6 relief pitchers yesterday, so that's not exactly great either. But I think if you go, I would still lead towards Mets full game here because both bullpens are thinking kind of a similar position there. Next up is going to be the best bet. We're going to go with an unknown here. But sometimes I like doing this, man. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're going to go with the Astros here, and I know they let me down the other day. We're going to do a split bet here, partially on the run line at +125, partially on the money line at -178. And I'm saying split the bet up so that the amount of the bet, basically, you want to make it so that if they win by 1, your bet essentially pushes. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have your part of the bet that's on the money line be to win the amount that you're putting on the run line, if that makes sense. So, I use this run line calculator here. These are not the numbers for me here because I have a hockey play too where I'm doing the same thing. So that's what those numbers are. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I looked at like DK also has like a -1 run line if you want to go that way, but it was like -131 or something like that to do that. And for what I did here, I got the price down to like -120 something to do this. So I think that's a bit better, obviously. So that's what I'm doing. So if you want to go -1 run line, I think that's fine as well. We're going with a big favorite here, but, Houston, they're favored this big for a reason. Houston's going to try to even up the series here, man. They won yesterday 11-9. It was a game where, the bullpens were in use yesterday. So Houston only used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, so I'm not too worried about that. And Anaheim's bullpen is just absolutely atrocious, so I don't see that really changing this year. And they also use 3 relief pitchers, so Houston still has the bullpen edge here. I think Houston has the offensive edge here, and I think the starting pitching edge is actually really big in favor of Houston here. In my opinion, Houston dropped to -169 here, though. 85% of tickets, 99% of the cash on them, it looks like. Those numbers might be a little bit off. I would say, you might be able to get a better money line on this than I found. But I think it makes sense to do this. I mean, we're fading Jack Kochanowicz for one thing. I don't know why the Angels continue to put this guy out there. Like, he's been an absolute disaster. He's tall, but he doesn't throw that hard. He throws junk, and he's just never been good. His ERA last year was almost 7, dude. And his whip was, like, getting close to 2. Like, how could you leave this guy in your starting rotation? It's absolutely insane. And Anaheim seems to have bad pitching coaching. It seems like there were pitchers go to die. And his numbers against the Astros are pretty bad. In 22 at-bats, I know it's not a big sample size, but pretty much all their hitters have faced him at least once before. 1 strikeout, 3 walks, 364 average allowed, 849 OPS. So, yeah, we're going to fade Kochanowicz here. I think his numbers they're bad, dude. What else can I say? He's not a good pitcher at all. I think he's one of the worst pitchers in any starting rotation in baseball. And we're going to go with the unknown quantity here with Tatsuya Iai making his major league debut. So, yes, we have to worry that he might be nervous. I get it. Like sometimes these Japanese pitchers, they come over from the Japanese leagues because that's where he was. He was pitching in the Japanese leagues. And sometimes they don't adapt right away to Major League Baseball, but I'd be more concerned if he was younger, you know what I mean? Like Sasaki, like a guy who's like 21, 22. This guy's 27. He's pitched in the Japanese leagues for like 5-6 years, so I'm not as worried about that. But yes, they have to adapt to the culture and whatever, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives here because the positives are that none of these hitters have ever faced him before, so they have no idea what they're going to be facing, and a lot of times it's a big advantage to some of these guys. Iai, like these guys are going to have to get used to facing him. So I like that. He's facing a lineup that's not that good. And if you look at his like scouting reports, he has good stuff, dude. Like there's a reason why the Astros went out and got this guy. He's a small guy, but he throws like in the upper 90s, although, eventually maybe that's going to cause injuries for him. I don't know. But he throws in the upper 90s with his fastball. He's got a mix of 6 different pitches. Really, he throws like 4 the majority of the time, but he mixes in a couple extra pitches as well. He has like a really, really nasty slider with a lot of movement on it that fools everyone. And he's got like a really weird split finger fastball as well. Mixes in like a changeup and like I think another fastball or something. He might have 2 different changeups. I don't know. He has a mix of pitches, but primarily it's the fastball, slider, splitter, and then I think another, maybe either the change or another fastball, I forget, but whatever. I like it, man. I think we have a big edge here with Houston in this one, so that's what we're going with. That's my only baseball play today. Houston Astros, split bet money line, run line is my recommendation there. Or, if the price goes down a little bit, if you just want to go -1 run line, you could do that as well. I just think that at the prices that I found, making your own run line was a little bit cheaper for me. All right. We have White Sox at Milwaukee. Milwaukee should be a huge favorite here. Milwaukee is, of course, on the verge of an easy sweep of the White Sox here. They've outscored them 20-3 in the first 2 games, which is ridiculous. So they might take Chicago for granted here, but they only face Tampa Bay next, which is still not really that big of a deal. Milwaukee's clearly the better team here, though. They're the better offense. They probably do have the better bullpen. They used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. The White Sox, let me see. White Sox used 4 as well. So, yeah, you got to give the bullpen edge to Milwaukee here. And starting pitching, Milwaukee also has the advantage here, in my opinion. Chicago is going with Anthony Kay as the listed starter. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good for the White Sox, dude, because this guy, he's only going to come out there and be like an opener pretty much. So the White Sox look like they're going with a bullpen game of in some way here. That's not good. That is, I just don't like these bullpen games, especially when your bullpen isn't good. So good luck to the White Sox in this game. Kay himself also had really bad numbers the last time he pitched, which, by the way, he hasn't pitched in the majors for 2 years. 3 years. He hasn't pitched since 2023 in the majors, and he had a 6 ERA that season. So what are we doing here, man? I don't know what we're doing. The guy's in his 30s. I don't get it. I don't understand it. The Brewers actually are 1 for 4 off him lifetime. Sanchez has a home run off him. 1-1 strikeout walk ratio, whatever. So the Brewers have a couple of guys that did face him back then. Brandon Sproat is pitching for Milwaukee. They picked him up from the Mets, I believe. I believe that was a trade they made. He was a young pitcher that the Mets brought up last year, and he pitched okay. His ERA didn't look that good, but his whip was not horrible. I think he's actually a decent pitcher. And the White Sox, Hayes has seen him before, and he is 1 for 2 off him with a couple of RBIs. No strikeouts, no walks. But essentially, I think you could say that Sproat is totally unfamiliar with the White Sox, and I think he does have a big edge here against whatever the hell the White Sox are doing with this bullpen game. So Milwaukee, I believe, is the right side here, man. They're actually not that expensive at -165, but, dude, these favorites that seem like obvious favorites, they're all, like, public sides, and that's what worries me about looking at these games, because I'm like, this team clearly should win this game, you know what I mean? But then it's like, well, is the price too much? Sometimes that's hard to gauge in baseball. You know, I would lean to I would lean to the Brewers in this game. Excuse me. Like I don't see the game any other way. I think the Brewers have too much of an edge here. I would go split bet, run line, money line on that one. It's not on my card though. Tampa Bay and St. Louis. I don't know what's going on with this game either. These teams went into extra innings yesterday. St. Louis used more of their bullpen. I think yesterday they used 4 relief pitchers. What did Tampa use? 3. But Tampa looks like they're going with a bullpen game here because Steven Matz is the listed starter here. He was on the Cardinals last year until the Red Sox got him in a trade, which wound up being totally useless. Matz was good out of the bullpen last year for the most part, but what are we doing here, man? He's on Tampa Bay now. They're using him as an opener here. Of course, we know Tampa, they're kind of the pioneers of the bullpen game, so they kind of know how to do it because it's been their thing more than most other teams. It's really been them, and like the Detroit Tigers have started doing it recent years. But still, I don't know about this. A bullpen game. St. Louis doesn't look good for them either, man. They got Dustin May pitching. Good luck to them with that because since his Tommy John surgery or whatever, he's been atrocious. He was bad for the Dodgers. He was bad for the Red Sox. He can't stick with a team. Tampa Bay is only 0 for 2 off him, though, with 2 strikeouts. Fortes is their only hitter who's ever faced him before. But still, I don't trust May at all. I don't trust whatever the hell Tampa's doing with this bullpen game here. The money is coming in on Tampa for what that's worth, up to minus 114. 68% of tickets, 83% of the cash on them. Tampa is the better team. I will tell you that. Tampa does, I believe, have the better offense and the better bullpen, but their bullpen is going to be pitching the whole game here. As far as St. Louis, I don't trust May. You know, I would lean to an over in this game if I was going to do anything with it, although the money looks like it's indicating on the under. 53% of tickets on the over, 83% of the cash on the under. I would lean over, though. You know, I don't see this being an advantage for either team with what they're doing with this pitching. But again, because Tampa Bay does actually do the bullpen thing sometimes, they might be able to work it so that St. Louis's hitters are just off balance all game. So maybe they do have a little bit of an edge that way. So I wouldn't really disagree with the Tampa Bay side, but I would probably prefer over in that one. Washington at the Cubs. The Cubs got the win after getting blown out in the first game. They had an easy blowout win. One of the wins, the only win I gave out on the show yesterday. So we did get the win yesterday with that one. Washington, their bullpen is pretty bad. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, whatever. Cubs also used 3. Light bullpen usage for the Cubs over the last couple of days. Cubs have the bullpen edge here. Cubs have a better offense. Cubs have a better starter. That's why they're favored extremely heavily here. But the Cubs have the advantage everywhere in this game. Jake Irvin is pitching for Washington. Not a fan of him. You know, he showed some glimpses of being all right, but I just don't think so. Against the Cubs, his numbers are bad, and 69 at bats, really bad. 13-10 strikeout walk ratio, 290 average allowed, 916 OPS. None of that is good at all. And he's going up against who I think is the best starter that the Cubs have, and he's pitching in their 3rd game for some reason. Shota Imanaga is pitching for the Cubs. He had a sub-1 whip last year. This guy is good, man. He's legit. He's acclimated himself to the majors at this point. His numbers against Washington are not great, though. In 31 at-bats, 7-1 strikeout walk ratio is solid, but 290 batting average allowed, 700 OPS worries me a little bit here. But still, I think he's clearly got the upper hand here. The only way that I could see playing this game, really, is either Cubs on the run line, or if you worry a little bit about Imanaga, you know, those matchup numbers there or whatever, you could go Cubs over their team total. In this one, I would not really disagree with that, even though I know they scored 10 runs yesterday. So it almost looks too easy. But against Washington, a bad starter, a bad bullpen, you know, the Cubs should put up runs in this one. So, and the total is high. And remember, I talked about this last year a lot with Wrigley Field. When you see a high total like that, that means the wind is probably blowing out. Because the Wrigley Field, the lake effect wind is huge. So depending on the direction that the wind is blowing, you'll see the total move by like 2 runs in Wrigley Field. It's insane. So I think this means the wind is blowing out, so you're going to see some runs in this game. So Cubs over their team total. Maybe that's even actually the preferable way to play that game. And then we have a night game on Peacock. The only night game is Cleveland and Seattle. These two teams have played 3 games already. Cleveland won last night. Cleveland won 2 of the first 3 games. So we'll see. Maybe Seattle's going to be motivated to even this up. Yesterday, it went into extra innings. Cleveland used 6 relief pitchers. Seattle only used 5. They only used Spire for 3 pitches, and he didn't pitch on Friday, so he's probably available again. So I think Seattle does have a little bit of a bullpen advantage in this one. Both bullpens are actually fairly good, but the way this sets up, I think Seattle does have that edge there. The hitting, Seattle has the better offense here. Starting pitching on the surface, I would give the edge to Cleveland, but the matchup numbers don't quite bear that out. Slade Ciccone is pitching for Cleveland. I do think he's pretty good. His whip was below 1.2 last year, which is pretty good. He came back, I think, late in the season last year. So his ERA wasn't that good, but he's better than that ERA, I would suggest, in my opinion. But his numbers against Seattle are not great, although it's only in 14 at-bats. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. Donovan has a home run off him. He's allowed a 286 average and 905 OPS, but it is a small sample size, so like half of Seattle's lineup has actually never faced him before, so I think I would not read into these stats too much here. I would still probably say Ciccone is good. Like, you know, I think he should do okay here. Emerson Hancock, I think, is a much bigger question mark for Seattle. His numbers just aren't as good, like, throughout his career. He's still pretty young. I don't really trust him, though, but he does have good numbers against Cleveland. 25 career at-bats, 5-1 strikeout walk ratio, no extra base hits allowed, 160 average, 352 OPS. You know, Mariners are pretty public here. They're only at minus 137. 86% of tickets, 99% of the cash. Whenever I see 99, there's no way that's accurate. But looks like Seattle's going to be a public side, which I know that worries me about Houston a little bit. But, you know, I might slightly lean towards Cleveland in the first 5. I don't think I would want to go full game because I think Seattle does have a little bit of a bullpen edge here. I would also probably lean towards an under in this game in the first 5 innings because I don't want to deal with those used-up bullpens. First 5 inning under I could see happening because Hancock does have good numbers against what is a weak Cleveland offense, and I think Ciccone could actually pitch okay there. So, but you're teetering on the edge with that because it's a 7.5 total on the game, so you probably are going like under maybe 3.5 in the first 5. Which, you know, that's about my cutoff. I usually won't want to go under 3 in the first 5, but we will see. All right, well, should we go to college basketball next, even though it's at night? I don't really have a whole lot to say about these games, really. We have Tennessee and Michigan. Tennessee has made their way to the Elite 8. I had them in the Sweet 16 in my bracket, and then they got a little bit of a break because Iowa State had Jefferson injured, so Joshua Jefferson did not play against Tennessee. Now, Michigan, I think, is going to be a totally different animal for Tennessee, though. I know Michigan is my champion in my bracket, so I need them to win, but I think they will win. I mean, they should. They're favored, but also Tennessee, they want to play a slow-paced game, and they want to play defense. And while I do like the defense, and I do like, you know, that they might be able to slow the pace down. I usually look that way with an underdog. Problem is that Michigan might be too good for them, and Michigan is also very good on defense. Michigan is better on defense than Tennessee is. They're just better all around, and they're way better on offense than Tennessee is. Michigan is going to try to speed the game up a bit, and they may be able to do that. So I think that's going to throw Tennessee off, too, because I don't have KenPom up, but I'm pretty sure that Iowa State is more of a slowish pace team. So Tennessee's coming up playing like Virginia, Iowa State. Those teams play slow. The last time they played a fast-paced team was Miami, Ohio, and obviously Tennessee could just completely dominate Miami, Ohio because Miami, Ohio doesn't play any defense. They're just not a good team at all. Michigan is not that. And Michigan is also one of the few teams in the country that has enough size that they might be able to beat what Tennessee does the best, which is rebound. Tennessee gets a lot of offensive rebounds. Michigan has a ton of size on the front court. So Tennessee might not be able to dominate the rebounding battle like they usually do. So I don't think this is a very good matchup for Tennessee. I think Michigan wins this game. I would lean towards them covering. This game will be in Chicago. Both fan bases should have a good amount of people at the game. So I think both teams will be well represented with the fan base. Michigan is a little bit public, 72% of tickets, 82% of the cash on them too, though. So it looks like the real money is actually on Michigan as well. This game is actually in the afternoon because it's Sunday. I forgot. Hopefully they can get it done, at least win for our bracket purposes here, which they should. I mean, I think I'd rather have them playing Tennessee than Iowa State, although if it was Iowa State without Jefferson, I think Michigan would win that game. So, yeah, that's what we got going on. Michigan, I mean, I know they hit that lull at the end of the regular season, but they have really turned it on in the tournament here. And I believe Michigan is the first team in history to, I believe they've scored 90 plus in every game in the tournament so far. I think they're the first team to score 90 plus in the first 3 games of the tournament while also shooting 50%. And I think they've been shooting like 40-something% from 3-point range, even though they're not even known as a 3-point shooting team. So, I mean, a lot of the talk was, well, they're going to miss Case on because he's one of their best bench players, but they've been able to overcome that, man. So yeah, Michigan, yeah, obviously they're elite. So that's I don't have a whole lot else to say about that. I mean, the total's not that high; it's in the 140s, so it's kind of a mix. Like, will Michigan wind up slowing? Will they wind up playing a little bit slow as well? Maybe, but. They don't want to go too slow because that's what Tennessee wants to do. Tennessee, their only chance in this game is to keep this game very low scoring and stay within range here. But Tennessee, one thing they don't do well is also they don't really prevent 3-pointers from being taken, and Michigan might take advantage of that too. I don't know, because Michigan can kind of just do everything well. So that's what we got going on there. And then UConn and Duke in the East region here. That one that I was talking about was the Midwest. East region in Washington, D.C. Both teams are going to have huge fan bases here. I think Duke probably will have a little bit of a crowd edge here because it's closer. Duke, massive fan base, although UConn also has a big one as well. People might put more stock into UConn beating Michigan State because, UConn beat Tom Izzo in March. That's a huge deal, whereas maybe Duke beating St. John's wasn't as big, although St. John's did seem like kind of a popular pick there. But people might not want Duke because they didn't look good against St. John's. Like, Duke was losing most of that game against St. John's. But you know what I always say? I think that puts a scare into a team like Duke. You know what I mean? Duke is the better team here over UConn. And St. John's maybe, put Duke, scare Duke a little bit, and maybe Duke is going to show up with more focus here. Also, what I didn't realize is that Caleb Foster actually came back in that game for Duke, so they had to work him back into the starting lineup. And you know what I always talk about, the reverse injured player theory. When that happens, a lot of times the team won't gel right away. Now you're talking about the second game with Foster back here, so they should be better now that they have that game under their belt. And I didn't realize Ngungba actually came back the game before that game. So Duke has all their players back, so they're not even injured anymore. Now, quick turnaround time. I forgot to mention this. You do have to talk about the coaching. Teams, with a 2-day turnaround, you want to look towards the better coach. With the Michigan-Tennessee game, I got to give that edge to Dusty May, even though, not Dustin May, who is pitching today, but Dusty May. Even though Tennessee, their coach is very experienced, Rick Barnes, but the one knock on him is he can't get to the Final Four, and hopefully that continues to be the case for our bracket purposes here, man. It would be pretty bad if the one time he breaks through is against our champion. I would be fucking pissed. That better not happen. For UConn and Duke, I think you do have to give the edge to Hurley, though, for the coaching over John Shire. Hurley has just done it more times, man. That's the whole thing, But he's also a psycho, and I still don't think UConn is as good as they have been in these past seasons, man. We know they're not as good. And that's the thing about matching up with Duke now. UConn just played Michigan State, who's a very comparable team that plays a very similar style. Duke plays slow as well. All Duke, UConn, Michigan State, they all want to go slow. But the thing about Duke that is not the case for UConn or Michigan State is that Duke actually has a good offense, and these other teams do not. So even though UConn can play defense, Michigan State also can play defense, Duke is actually a better defensive team than both teams as well. So Duke is the better team here on both sides of the ball. And they have more size as well. UConn does have a little bit more experience. I guess Duke is a very young team. UConn does have, like, Caravan. They got a couple of guys who were there on those championship teams, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I like Duke in this game. Duke is a 5-point favorite. 57% of tickets on UConn. 54% of the cash on Duke. I agree with that money split there. I would lean towards Duke in this one. Of course, I do have Duke in my bracket, and I do have them getting to the championship game, as you guys know, in my bracket, so we will see. But, yeah, that's the basketball, man. All right, I'm going to do what I usually do, take a quick break, and then I'm going to talk about hockey. There's not a whole lot of hockey today. And NBA, there's a little bit. I think there are 6 hockey games and 10 NBA games. I do have one hockey game that I will give out as a play. I'll be back in a second. All right. NHL here. We have one afternoon game on NHL Network. Florida and the Rangers. 2 teams that are going nowhere this year. Florida played yesterday. I think the Rangers are the only team playing today that didn't play yesterday because almost every team played yesterday. I think the Rangers were like one of the only 2 teams that did not. Florida lost at the Islanders 5-2 yesterday, so they're staying in New York. So at least there's that. I guess they don't have to travel that far for this. Will they get up for this game? I don't know, man. I mean, again, Rangers are already eliminated from the playoffs. Florida, if they're not, they're very close to being eliminated. The Rangers blew out Chicago 2 days ago on Friday. They are staying at home. They did end a 6-game losing streak, So a lot of times when a team ends a losing streak, they'll have new momentum and they'll show up for the next game. But we do know the Rangers typically are really bad at home. I just don't know what to expect here, man. It looks like the Rangers are switching up their goalies here. I don't know if Quick is injured or what, but Garand played in the last game. Is that an M1 Garand? They have a gun in net here. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, this game is like, I think if I was going to play this game, I think the only way I would really be able to play it is the over. We do have 81% of tickets, 97% of the cash on the over. Again, I talk about this. When the season is over, for both teams, over is usually worth a look because you just get less intense defense. You know what I mean? So that's probably the way I would lean in this game. Rangers are up to minus 160 on the money line. Who would ever think the Rangers would be that heavy of a favorite against anybody this year, especially against the back-to-back defending champs here who are not going to defend their title this year? 69% of tickets, 72% of the cash on the Rangers. I don't have a good feel for the side. I think that's way too heavy of a price, though, for the Rangers, though. So, I guess, it's part of it is because the Rangers didn't play yesterday and Florida did. So I think that's why the price is that high on the Rangers. It's probably too high to be honest, but my opinion would be to go over in that game. Nashville at Tampa Bay. Nashville losing again yesterday. They've lost 2 games in a row in what should have been positive spots for them. Now they got to go play Tampa Bay. Maybe it would be good for them to just go out on the road, try to focus on hockey. Nashville is trying to stay alive in the playoff race, but they do have the Kings coming up next, 2 of their next 3 games. That's going to decide a lot, I think, because the Kings they're the team that they're battling for that last playoff spot. I don't know if they're really going to overlook Tampa Bay either, though. Tampa Bay is a good team. Tampa Bay doesn't really need to win at this point. Like, they're going to be in the playoffs. They just beat Ottawa yesterday, who is fighting for a playoff spot. They got Montreal and Pittsburgh coming up next, Boston, Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal, Boston, Detroit. So all the remaining games except their finale against the Rangers are against potential playoff teams coming up. So this is not a good spot for Tampa. I'm going to lean to Nashville slightly in this one, but I don't have a strong opinion on it. Tampa's minus 196, so it would probably be like a puck line situation on Nashville. Things have not worked out for Nashville the last couple of games, though. Montreal at Carolina. Montreal, both these teams are going to be in the playoffs, but I think Carolina is more secure in their playoff spot at this point. Montreal did just beat Nashville yesterday. They're having to travel from there to Carolina. Carolina also played yesterday, as I said, like every team did except for the Rangers, and I forget who the other team was. Carolina is a little bit more rested, though, because they didn't play. They had 3 days off before playing yesterday. Part of it was because they returned home from a road trip, but they still got an easy win yesterday against the Devils. Now it's their second game back home. They're a little bit more rested here. They're staying at home, and Carolina, to finish that road trip, the game before the New Jersey game, Carolina lost to this Canadiens team. So I actually like Carolina in this one to bounce back. I think they will actually show up for this one. The money's coming in on Montreal pretty strongly, and I don't agree with that. The argument that I see for that is that Carolina just doesn't need to win this game because they're more secure in their playoff spot. But that's the only real argument that I see. But Montreal's not really in danger of missing the playoffs either. Carolina minus 171 here. 74% of tickets on them. 80% of the cash on Montreal. We'll see what happens in that one, man. Next game up will be my play, and I will be going against my own team here. You got to throw bias out the window, man, when you're trying to make money here. We're going to go with a split bet on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Minus 1.5 puck line at plus 170. The money line at minus 148. If you want to just go on the money line, you could do that too. But this is a way to get the price down. And we got it down to a plus 109 price here. As you can see, these were the numbers that I used for this. Wound up being 54. Like, if you were trying to win 100 on this, which I 3x from that, but still, then you would have 54 or 55 bucks out of that bet on the minus portion of it on the money line, and then the rest and then you put, actually you don't even have to bet 100 on this to win 100 because you're making a minus 1 puck line that's at plus 109, so you're getting plus money on this. If you get what I'm saying. So then you only had to put like 37 of it on the money line there. On the puck line there at plus money. All right. But anyway, the situation, I don't like the spot the Bruins are in, man. First of all, they're on the road. So that's right away, that's bad. The Bruins are way better at home. On the road, they're 14-7, so that's not good. If Columbus wins in overtime, we'll at least get our money back here. Columbus is also really good at home. 20 wins, 9 losses, and 7 overtime losses. So Columbus has been good at home. So the home road splits look pretty good for us in this one. The Bruins just beat Minnesota yesterday. That was a huge win against a pretty good Minnesota team. Bruins beat Buffalo the game before that as well, which was a big win as well. So Bruins coming off 2 big wins. I know the Bruins have to keep winning to maintain a wild card spot here, but they got Dallas on deck, and then they have Florida, and the Bruins, Florida. They don't like each other. Florida has Marchand, that's kind of a rivalry, and then they got Tampa after that. So really, this still looks like a flat spot to me, man, in the schedule. They're having to travel to Columbus for 1 game with no days off here. I know they had a couple of days off before the Minnesota game, but still, It's a very strange spot. I don't like it. And Columbus is still trying to maintain their playoff position as well. Columbus also, they're staying at home, and they lost in their home game yesterday. I told you I liked San Jose in that game yesterday. Columbus was returning home from a road trip. It was a bad spot, kind of. They got caught. They'd played Montreal the game prior to that. They had Boston, Carolina on deck. I think you're going to get a better effort out of them in this game because I think they were looking ahead. And when teams return home from road trips and they don't do well in that first game, a lot of times they will do better that second game back now that they're settled and they've gotten some stuff done at home, whatever they needed to do. Columbus is the play here. The money is very much in alignment with me here with the Bruins, 56% of the tickets on them. 92% of the cash on the Blue Jackets, though, on the BJs. Money line looks like it's at about minus 157 there. I saw like a wide range of money lines, though, which, the advantage of finding puck line and money line is if you have a bunch of different books at your disposal, you can find a better number at different books potentially, right? Like put part of the bet, like you can have. You could split your bet across different books. You know what I'm saying? Finding the best number that way. All right. NHL Network, not really a doubleheader, but they do have a night game as well, which is a pretty bad game. Blackhawks and Devils. Chicago at New Jersey. Chicago just got wiped out by the Rangers yesterday. They're playing a third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, all in different cities. But going from New York to New Jersey is not a long trip, obviously. So at least they have that going for them. The Devils are returning home from a road trip, so that is worse. The Devils have been on the road since Wednesday the 18th, although that first game was in New York. But still, they're returning home from a road trip. You know what I always say, and they played yesterday at Carolina. Team returning home from a road trip, bad spot typically. You have to get back to home life. You might overlook your opponent. They might overlook Chicago because Chicago's just not that good. They got the Rangers again on deck, which is at least a rivalry between these two teams. Both these teams are going nowhere. Devils, Blackhawks, neither team is making the playoffs here. The money is kind of coming into New Jersey right now, but I don't agree with that. I would lean towards Chicago here because they're actually staying in the New York area. New Jersey's returning from a road trip. 73% of tickets, 95% of the cash on New Jersey. They're at minus 164 on the money line here. I would lean towards Chicago, maybe like a split puck line. Money line situation, I also would agree with an over, even though we see 69% of tickets on the over and 54% of the cash on the under. When you have two teams that are not well rested, I think that affects the defense. And also, again, these two teams are going nowhere, so I don't see the defense being very intense here. So an over in that game makes sense to me as well. By the way, my over leans last night. The Vancouver-Calgary one won with no sweat at all. That went way over 10. And then the other one, I think, pushed the 6 on Toronto-St. Louis. So, that one might have been a little bit luckier, but those are my opinions yesterday that I gave out on the totals. Dallas at Philadelphia to finish this off. Dallas coming off ending a 4-game losing streak by beating Pittsburgh. So a lot of times when a team ends a losing streak, they'll have new momentum coming into the next game. But then again, Pittsburgh is going to be in the playoffs. That was a good win. They got Boston on deck. Maybe they overlook Philadelphia, who right now is outside of the playoffs. And Philadelphia is going to be motivated here. Both teams played yesterday. Problem is Philadelphia is returning home from Detroit, and they won. Big win at Detroit for Philadelphia there, man. Although Philadelphia, they'll show up for a game against Dallas still, though, especially because Philadelphia is still trying to stay alive in the playoff race here. And they're an underdog, and I like that. Like when a team, needs to win or whatever, sometimes they'll be overvalued. But in a situation where they're a home underdog like this against a team that everybody knows is better than they are, that's the way that I'm going to lean here. I will lean to Philadelphia here. 68% of tickets, 58% of the cash on Dallas. They're minus 155 here. I just don't see Dallas having that much motivation, and that one Dallas is already pretty much locked into the playoffs. So, slight lean to Philadelphia there. As far as the NBA goes, we got some NBA games. I don't have any plays in the NBA. I don't like this board at all here. We got, I think, 9 games here. Have some afternoon action on NBA TV between the Clippers and the Bucks. This is bad. Clippers at Milwaukee. Clippers just barely got by Indiana in their last game, so you might argue that, well, that was a scare, so they might show up with more effort here. I don't know, because Milwaukee is also just playing out the stretch. I don't think Giannis is coming back. Milwaukee's going nowhere. But Milwaukee did just get embarrassed-ish by San Antonio. I know San Antonio's good, but 3 straight embarrassing losses from Milwaukee. That last one was in a return home spot, so maybe they will bounce back from that. That was yesterday, though, so Milwaukee has no days off, so they don't have any rest here, so that's not good. But then again, they got blown out. They might actually try to show up here, because a lot of times, second game back home, you'll get a better effort out of that team a lot of times. Maybe they will show up for once here. It's a difficult handicap in this one, man. I think the Clippers are probably favored by a bit too much because of that rest advantage they have. They're up to minus 14 on the road here. 63% of tickets on them, 56% of the cash on Milwaukee. Money is indicating on Milwaukee. I don't really have that much of a reason to disagree with that, but no real strong opinion for me there at all. My opinions yesterday were pretty good in basketball, by the way, and I didn't give out a play on any of them, but Philadelphia won outright, so I got that right. Sacramento covered against Atlanta. Phoenix covered. So, yeah, I had some good opinions yesterday, man. I think Memphis was another one of my leans yesterday too, right? Yeah, I should have just sprayed the board. I should have just played all NBA games yesterday. Miami at Indiana. Miami coming off getting blown out by Cleveland in a zigzag after they beat Cleveland the previous game. Maybe they will bounce back after a bad loss like that. I mean, Miami does have something to play for here, but that's going to mean they're overvalued. That's the problem. Miami, they're trying to, get their playoff positioning set here. I think they can, they're playing to avoid the play-in, I think, pretty much. They got Philadelphia and Boston on deck, though. Those are 2 big games. Possible they don't take Indiana totally seriously here. Indiana did just have a big game, well, kind of a big performance, I guess, themselves. They just played really close against both the Lakers and the Clippers. Well, somewhat close against the Lakers and really close against the Clippers. I don't see them overlooking Miami, but I don't know what Indiana's going to have left in the tank. The one good thing for Indiana is it looks like they're still giving you effort down the stretch, so there is that. Indiana's not quitting. The Heat are a public side. They're minus 8.5. I think basically the Heat are probably a bit overvalued because everybody knows they're the better team, but also they're fighting for playoff positioning here. You know what I mean? So that's probably going to overvalue them a little bit. 65% of tickets, 60% of the cash on the Heat. I'll agree with that market read and lean slightly to taking the points of the Pacers, but I don't like it really at all. Kings at Brooklyn. I mean, these 2 teams both playing out the stretch here, man. So, I talk about this. This game could turn into a scrimmage here. The Kings did just cover yesterday against Atlanta, so they're also playing a very tightly packed schedule. Back-to-back, 4 games in the last 6 days, 5 in the last 8 days, all in different cities. That's not that easy, man, especially, they're coming off a cover as an underdog here, as a big underdog. Brooklyn is returning home from a road trip where they went out west, out to the Pacific Coast. They've been away since last Sunday. That's not good. When a team returns home from a road trip, a lot of times they will not be focused, and they'll overlook their opponents. So it's a bad spot for them, too, even though they're on this massive losing streak. I would play the over in this game. I feel like a broken record, but that's the situation, man. When you have 2 teams that have nothing to play for, and they're both kind of in questionable spots, too, not that well rested, I think this game could definitely turn into a scrimmage, and there's multiple reasons you won't see intense defense here. 76% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the over here. Money might agree with me here. It's a fairly low total at 221.5. I think probably because these teams just have nobody playing for them. So it's like, where are the points going to come from? Well, again, the answer to that is the defenses just won't play well. So, yeah, I like the over, and I wouldn't really disagree with the Kings here because the Nets are returning home from a road trip. Kings did flip from plus 1.5 to -1 here. Money looks like it is coming in on the Nets, though. 52% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the Nets. I would not play the Nets, though, in a return home spot like that. I would lean towards the Kings there, but over, I think, is the better way to go with that game. My Boston Celtics are at Charlotte here. I know the market read on this is indicating on Charlotte. I'm worried about it. Charlotte tends to play the Celtics really well. Charlotte's coach was a former assistant coach of the Celtics, so that's why Charlotte plays a similar style to the Celtics. You'd think that would play into the Celtics' hand, though, because the Celtics are just better at it, but that hasn't been the case. The Celtics are coming off a win over Atlanta and starting a road trip here, so it's not a horrible spot for the Celtics, really. They covered against Atlanta, but it was a somewhat lackluster win, and Jaylen Brown didn't play in the game, so he might be back in this one. Starting a road trip with momentum usually is a positive, so maybe the Celtics will show up for this one. They did just lose to Charlotte really bad at home back on March 4th. Charlotte embarrassed the Celtics in Boston, beating them by almost 30 points. So the Celtics might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder here after that. Atlanta had beaten them in Boston, I believe, the previous game that they played Atlanta as well. Yeah, this one back on January 28th. Atlanta beat them by 11, so that might have had the Celtics a little bit more motivated in their last game as well. So there are some reasons to kind of like the spot for the Celtics here. Charlotte, they just lost a 5-game win streak playing yesterday, so Charlotte is not rested. They played yesterday. They beat the Knicks on Thursday, big win, and then they played Philadelphia close yesterday, although they did lose as a favorite. So a lot of times when a team loses as a favorite, they will bounce back. But that was against a Philadelphia team that is going to be in the playoffs probably in some capacity, at least in the play-in, if you want to call that the playoffs. Charlotte losing a win streak. Sometimes you lose a win streak, it will hang you over into the next game. So that is a concern there as well. The market read is all over the Hornets, though. They flipped from +2 to -1 here. 67% of tickets and only 54% of the cash on the Celtics, so I don't like that at all. The Celtics are basically a public underdog here, so my tendency looking at that market read would be to fade the Celtics and play the Hornets here, but I think the situational setup is actually better for the Celtics here, so I'm not fully convinced, although I definitely worry that the Celtics are going to lose this game. And if they do, the Knicks better lose today, too. You also have to pay attention to the injury report. Tatum, White, and Brown are all game-time decisions here, so we'll see how that works out for the Celtics. It looks like with Charlotte, with the line moving on Charlotte, it looks like maybe one of those guys might not play. So we'll see what happens here, man. Celtics trying to, manage their playing time down the stretch here, too, and get ready for the playoffs. So we'll see. Orlando at Toronto. These teams are kind of fighting each other for, playoff positioning, trying to avoid the play-in games, etc. Orlando just ended a 6-game losing streak with a bad win, really, over Sacramento, a non-covering win. But that's good for a couple of reasons, because it ends their losing streak. That can give them some new momentum, and it was not a good win. They barely got by Sacramento, so that might shock them into focus, too. So I think those are positives for Orlando, even though they do have to go up to Toronto here. They have a couple of days off. You can kind of explain why Orlando didn't play that well against Sacramento, because they were coming off a cover at Cleveland where they played pretty well. So maybe they were hung over a little bit. Toronto is not that good at home. They're also pretty bad as a home favorite, by the way. They just don't cover a lot. Toronto did return home in their last game, and they beat New Orleans. So they are staying at home here. Second game back home usually is a positive, but I think it's more of a positive when you didn't have a good game in the first game, which they did. I'm going to slightly lean to Orlando in this one. The money does agree with me on this. Toronto's a home favorite, which, again, Toronto is they're below 500 against the spread as a home favorite. They're not very good at home. 59% of the tickets are on Toronto as a -2.5-point favorite here. 84% of the cash on the Magic, so the money is coming in on Orlando there. I agree with it. I would lean Orlando. Not a strong enough opinion for me, though. Washington at Portland. Washington just almost pulled off an upset as a big favorite, as a big underdog, at Golden State. They were double-digit underdogs in that game for sure, even though Golden State is injured. And I talk about this, when a team almost pulls off a big upset as a double-digit underdog, a lot of times they won't play well in the next game. They do have to play the Lakers tomorrow. So as weird as it sounds, Washington might overlook Portland here, man. Even though Washington is losing every game, this looks kind of sandwichy to me. Portland does have some motivation because I think they're playing to maybe get better playoff positioning here. I don't even know if that's possible at this point, though. Portland did just lose as a big favorite to Dallas. So I think it's a positive spot for Portland off of that. Portland was a double-digit favorite against Dallas, dude, and they lost the game outright. And, I talk about this. When a team loses as a big favorite, a lot of times they will bounce back from that. They are staying at home, so this spot is definitely better for Portland. The problem is, I think because Portland is playing for playoff positioning, I think you're laying too many points with them probably. You're laying 16.5. Imagine that. With a team below 500, you're laying 16.5. Ridiculous. This is the new NBA, man. 79% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Portland. So the money is indicating towards the Wizards. I would not do that. If I was going to play the game, I would lay it with Portland. But you're going against the market read in that one if you do it. We have Knicks at Oklahoma City. We have a Peacock and NBC doubleheader at night here. This game is pretty good. The Knicks at the Thunder. I'm hoping the Thunder win just because I don't like the Knicks. And, rooting for the Celtics to snatch that 2 seed, which I think will be a little bit better because they'll get the home advantage in the 2 versus 3 matchup and whatever. And probably get a better matchup in the first series. The Knicks just lost a long win streak. They had a 7-game win streak snapped with a loss to Charlotte on Thursday. And I talk about it. When a team loses a win streak, a lot of times they will be hung over into the next game. Now, they're going to get up for it, though, because it is the Thunder. You're going to try to play well in a game like that. Thunder don't really have a whole lot to play for here, although I think they haven't clinched the 1 seed yet, so there is that at least, but that doesn't matter that much. But maybe they'll show up just because people are going to be hailing this as dude, these people outside revving their fucking motorcycle engines. These people should be just banned from the road. Fuck these people. Anyway, it's a Sunday morning, man. How dare you? How dare I? How dare I swear on a Sunday morning? But how dare these people do that outside there, man? Oklahoma City coming off that win over Chicago where we did get the cover with the Bulls in that one barely. It should have been a lot easier, though. Now, Oklahoma City, that was a bad spot for them. They lost a long win streak. They'd return home from a road trip. They played poorly for most of the game, so I think that might scare them back into focus a little bit here. And people are going to be hailing this as a finals preview or whatever, potential finals preview. It's a big TV game. I think that will motivate the Thunder in this game. I'm going to lean slightly to the Thunder here. They're minus 8.5, 65% of tickets, 79% of the cash on them. But, the Thunder might have a little bit less motivation here, though, so that would worry me a bit. Don't want to play the game, and I don't want to play this last game either, which is the late night portion of the doubleheader here. Golden State at Denver. Golden State, I'm pretty sure they're still very injured. I think they still are probably going to be in the play-in games to try to get into the playoffs here. I don't know. Golden State is coming off a bad performance against Washington and against Brooklyn the game before that, where they almost lost as big favorites in both games. So, again, a lot of times when you have a big favorite that almost lost, they'll play better in the next game. They're going to Denver where they should be focused because, Denver is one of the top teams in the NBA. So you're going to be focused when you play Denver. Denver is staying at home, though, and they are coming off kind of a bad performance themselves, barely getting by Utah in their last game. And it's a big TV game, so maybe Denver will show up for this game as well. That's not what I wanted to look at here. I wanted to look at the injury report here. Steph Curry is still out. I have no idea if he's coming back or not. Al Horford is still out as well for Golden State. Looks like there's no injury report at all for Denver, which is interesting. Money coming in on Denver slightly. They're a 12-point favorite here. 88% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the Nuggets. I don't know. I slightly disagree with it. I think I would lean to the Warriors slightly. Getting out of town after some bad performances at home, getting a lot of points here. And the Nuggets have not exactly been a covering machine at home this year. So that's probably the way that I would lean. But that's going to do it, man. That's today's breakdown. The plays today are both split run and or puck line and money line bets on the Houston Astros. That's what the split is that I have there. Minus 1.5 at plus 125 and minus 178. And then the Blue Jackets in hockey at plus 170 on the minus 1.5 and minus 148 on the money line. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe, reply to the channel here. Let's boost this thing. We're on audio, Apple, Spotify. Listening over there helps me out. Give me good reviews over there. That helps me out. Covered in Uke on YouTube for my Uke covers. We got patreon.com/learntotode where I need to offer more content, man. That's what I need to do. I know I keep saying that, but I got to figure something out here. And then Losercast will be back on Tuesday night. That'll do it for now. I appreciate it, guys. Let's have a winning day, and peace.